Hello, my name is Prince Obajo Daniel Dinicole, also known as the Matholic Arithophysical Biologist. This is from Boma Intellectual Academy. So, right about now, we shall be discussing the nomenclature or naming of organic compounds. So, the naming of organic compounds follow a systematic method established by the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, which is known as IUPAC. So this system ensures that every unique structure has a unique name, allowing scientists to communicate clearly regardless of their language. So the standard IUPAC name is built using the basic formula, which is stated as the prefix, which is the beginning of the name, the parent, and the suffix, that is the end of the name. This is the root and the end of the name. Now, what are the rules we need to consider to enable us to present the naming or nomenclature of organic compounds correctly? The first one is to identify the longest continuous carbon chain. Yes. So this longest continuous carbon chain determines the parent name of the molecule under consideration. Which means that if the longest carbon chain has one carbon, the parent name will begin with meth, M-E-T-H. If the longest carbon chain has two carbons, that is heth. If the longest carbon chain has three carbons, that is prop. If the longest carbon chain has four carbons, that is buth. But if the longest carbon chain has five carbons, that is pent. If the longest carbon chain has six carbons, that is x. Seven carbons, ept. Eight carbons, oct, and so on. Now, after you must have understood that, the next rule you need to consider is the fact that we need to identify the principal functional group. Yes. The principal functional group determine the suffix, that is the ending name. And if the functional group has single bond, it means the organic compound belongs to the class alkane. Hence, the suffix, that is the ending of the name, will be ane. If it is characterized by double bonds or double bond like this, carbon double bond carbon, it belongs to the class alkene, and the name will end with ene. If it has three bonds, that's triple bonds, it is in the class alkyne, and that ends with yne. If it has OH as the functional group, that is the alcohol, or better still, alkanol. Hence, it will end with OL. If it has CHO functional group, it is an aldehyde. Hence, the name will end with AL. And when it has the functional group carbonyl, that is CO, that is ketone, so the name will end with ONE. Don't forget I still remain tutor Prince Obajo Daniel Dinicole, also known as the Matholic Arithophysical Biology. Stay tuned as we proceed. So if the functional group is carboxylic acid, that is COOH, the name ends with oic, that is oic acid. Now, what is the next rule to be considered? The third rule. After you must have considered the functional group, you have considered the longest carbon chain. Now, the next thing is to number the chain. Yes, you number the carbons from the end that gives the lowest possible number to the principal functional group. Note that. Are we together? So if the compound is a simple alkane with no functional group, you need to number the chain from the end that gives the side of the chain, which is the substituent, the lowest number possible. That is, if we have just a simple alkane without functional group, all you need to do is to identify whether we have substituents. Yes. So you count or you number the carbon from the region or the side, the end, that gives the substituent the lowest number possible. What if we have double bond or triple bonds? The double bond and triple bond takes priority over the alkyl side. when numbering. That is, if you have double bond or triple bond in the compound, you have to number from the region where the number given to the double bond or the triple bonds will be of the lowest number possible. So after you must have done that, the next thing is to identify the name of the substituent. Yes, you identify and name the substituent which will serve as the prefix of the name. So any groups attached to the main chain that are not part of the principal functional group are known as the substituent. These the attachments. Yes, sometimes you may have the alkyl groups such as methyl, that is CH3, ethyl, that is C2H5, propyl, that is C3H8, and so on. You may also have the halogens, that is the group 7 elements, such as fluorine. If you have fluorine, you name it fluoro. If you have chlorine, you name it chloro. If you have bromine, you name it bromo. If you have iodine, you name it iodo, and so on. After you must have identified all of these things, the next thing is to assemble the name. How do we assemble the names? You use a hyphen to separate numbers from words. For example, 2-methylpentane. You can see between the number and the name in letters form, we have a hyphen rather. The next thing is you use commas to separate numbers from other numbers. That is, if you have 2 or more substituents attached to the compound, you separate the position of those substituents using comma. For example, we have 2,3-dimethylbutane. Another one is the fact that if the same substituent appears more than once, what do you need to do? You use prefixes. Yes, if you have 2 substituents that appears more than one, like you have a substituent that appear more than once, such as when you have it in like 2 of it, you call it di. If you have 3 of it, you call it tri. If you have 4 of it, you call it tetra. If you have 5 of it, penta, and so on. Then after you must have identified all of this, the next thing is to list the substituent in alphabetical order. What do I mean by that? You consider the first letter and identify which one comes first in the alphabetical order in the alphabet. Then that's the one that comes first will serve as the beginning of the name. Which means that, for example, we know that ethyl comes before methyl, since E comes before M in the alphabetical letters. So when arranging the names in alphabetical order, you ignore prefixes such as di or tri, as the case may be. So these are the points or rules you need to pay close attention to when it comes to naming organic compound. So right about now, I urge you to stay close as we go into this nomenclature using these rules I've just mentioned. Thank you for listening. I still remain your tutor, Prince Obajiwo Daniel Dinicole, also known as the Matholic Arithmetic. So you need to know that whenever we have multiple functional groups in a compound, we need to arrange these functional groups in order of priority, which means that the functional group with a higher priority will be given the suffix in the name, while those with a lower priority will be given the prefix of the name. Now, how do we identify the functional group with the highest priority? Now, consider the trend I presented here, denoted by nomenclature priority. This shows the functional group with decreasing priority. The first one is the carboxylic acid, followed by esters, that is the alkanoate, amide, aldehyde, ketone, alcohol, amine, and alkenes and alkynes. So this shows the trend of functional groups in decreasing priority, which means that this is the one with the highest priority. So note that as we proceed into nomenclature of organic compounds. Don't forget I still remain tutor Prince Obajiwo Daniel Dinicole, also known as the Matholic Arithmetic Biologist.